What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about the aura color orange, what the aura color orange means, and we'll be talking about the generalizations that we see with orange, and then we'll be breaking down the different individual shades with orange as well. Now, per usual, if you end up enjoying this video, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, turn the bell icon on so you don't miss when I do post new videos, and I promise I will make this part as fast and as quick as I possibly can, but bear with me for this quick rant. I do teach people how to physically see auras. If you're ever interested in learning how to physically see auras, definitely check the description down below. Now, if the class is not currently open, then please join my email list. I also give away one free goodie to somebody at random on that email list as a way of saying thank you to my community. It's also the easiest way to get notified when I do launch new things. Alongside that, I am going to be launching an NFT here pretty soon. This is my own art. I do paint auras and read auras professionally as well. If you're interested in that, you can find that on themagicalaura.com or linked in the description section below. Lastly, and this is it before we hop into the video, if you're not following me yet on Instagram and TikTok, I would highly suggest checking me out on those platforms because I do post more content, and especially on Instagram, I post more updates that have to do with the different spiritual classes that I'm building and things like that. The next class that will be coming available will be a class focused on teaching you how to channel your spirit guides. I'm really excited for that one. Anyway, you can find me over on those platforms with Holly Hunty as the username, just like it is here on YouTube, also linked in the description section below. Let's hop into it. Now, let's start off with the general things that we see with the aura color orange, and then we'll hop into the individual shades in this video, and the shades will be listed, as you may guess, in the description section of this video. A well-balanced orange aura indicates vitality, a joy for life, and can even indicate somebody who's incredibly creative. Orange auras can be kind of rare, and people with this aura tend to find themselves kind of standing out from the crowd. Because of this, people who have orange auras can be kind of aloof, kind of introverted, or a little bit kind of on their own. But once they do open up and they unfold, they are very much so the life of the party. They are very fun, outgoing, and really, really fun to be around. It is incredibly important for people with orange auras to find a really good, very balanced, very playful, joyful friends group, and when they do have that, then these people thrive. Orange auras are very emotionally deep, and they tend to have this natural gut instinct as to where things are going and how to navigate their lives. And it's incredibly important for people with orange auras to follow whatever path presents itself to them that feels right. Now, the reason for this is because orange correlates to the navel chakra, which is located right below our belly buttons, and this chakra deals with our emotions, our gut instinct, our gut's intuition as well. And it's very important for these people to follow that gut instinct. Pale orange aura. Now, people who have any tonality that is pale typically indicates a little bit feeling kind of washed out, feeling a little light, feeling a little bit drained. The only one that doesn't really have this connotation would be sky blue, and even with that, there is a little bit of this feeling of being aloof. With pale orange, it's very similar to bright yellow, where there is this feeling of kind of passing through this. It's usually not a long-term color, and usually with pale orange, it indicates that you are kind of going through some kind of transformation when it comes to your emotions, when it comes to your navel chakra. It can indicate that you're feeling a little bit washed out by situations. You're spending a little bit too much time thinking about things that you don't want to have happen, that have happened, or maybe even things that haven't happened that you don't want to have happen. It's kind of along those lines. Usually when we see pale orange, there's this feeling of kind of being a little bit exhausted, a little bit fatigued when it comes to the emotional state of being. Now, with the lighter colors, it can also indicate a little bit of a tendency to be a daydreamer, to kind of get stuck out in the clouds, out in the daydreaming energy space. But with it being correlated to orange, the navel chakra, it can be daydreaming about emotional situations that usually with the pale orange aren't like the happiest or the most fun. There's usually some feeling of kind of sadness there. However, with pale orange, typically these people are doing their best to ignore the things that are upsetting to them and push on by being really happy and fun and playful. And it ends up in a lot of ways, being kind of a detriment for people with pale orange, because it kind of continues to keep perpetuating the patterns that they're trying so desperately to get away from. So with pale orange, I highly suggest making sure that you sit down, you grab a journal, and you write down the things that really bring you joy, or things that brought you a lot of joy in the past when you were a child, things that spark an emotion for you. I had this time period where I created a list for myself of things that were really fun, that brought me a lot of joy, like hot air balloons, the way that light shines through flowers in the summertime, just kind of random stuff like that. But what I would do whenever I noticed that I was getting whisked away on some kind of emotional journey that I didn't want to be on, I would run through the list of things that brought me a lot of joy, and I would just keep running through that list until I started to feel more grounded and I started to feel happier. And just in and of that, breaking that pattern and starting a new emotional pattern and a new emotional cycle is very helpful for people with this color. The peach aura. All right, so with peach, it tends to lend itself more towards a feminine spectrum of energy. Now, of course, you can be masculine and have feminine energetic attributes, but peach does lend itself towards being kind of feminine. Now, of course, if it's external, this is more of how people perceive you. If it's kind of like your main aura color that shows up. Now, if it's internal, that means it's more of a subtle color that other people don't know until they kind of get to know you. And with it being internal, then maybe you don't show up as super feminine. So kind of take that how you will and how it applies for you based on your aura colors that you know that you have, and what resonates, right? Peach tends to be really bubbly, fun. They tend to be a great communicator. They are really good with things that are very delicate. So I see peach a lot with people who do makeup, sometimes makeup influencers. I see it with estheticians. I've seen it with somebody who's a pastry chef, just to give you an idea. Even artists who enjoy doing delicate, tiny details in their artwork tend to have peach in their aura field. These people also really benefit from having flowers in their home regularly, like little bouquets, or different ornate decorations that bring them a lot of joy. It's incredibly important for people who have the aura color peach to make sure that they take time to treat themselves, to, either go shopping or buy like little nice things for themselves that bring them joy. That could be even artworks that bring them joy. It depends on each person who has peach, of course, but it's incredibly important because this helps them rejuvenate themselves and to fill their own emotional cup so that they can continue to keep bringing this like really fun, loving, kind of soft, kind of warm energy to everybody around them. Bright orange. When we're talking about bright orange, I mean like this. Bright orange. And to some degree, we are kind of talking about the fruit when it comes to bright orange itself. So with bright orange, we think of sweetness, kind of a tang, playfulness. When you're eating an orange, at least to me, it always is like, summertime kind of vibes. So people who have bright orange, they're ever so slightly introverted until they aren't, and then they become incredibly extroverted. They become really outgoing, and they can become the life of the party as long as they feel comfortable with the people that they are around. Now, I see bright orange a lot with people who are into cosplay, with people who kind of like nerd out about things that they absolutely love. And I don't mean that in a negative way by any means. I never think of the word nerd as being negative. However, I know to some degree our society can have that connotation towards nerding out as being negative. But anyway, I digress. These people tend to really enjoy playing video games. They tend to enjoy cosplay. They tend to, again, have just certain things that they really, really, really love and that bring them a lot of joy. Now, bright orange being the external color of the aura field is kind of rare. Usually it's more tucked inwards. It is a color that I see more prevalently with kids and a little bit less with adults because it is such a fun, playful, and kind of creative color. Now, bright orange is usually very lucky, and these people can have good finances over their lifetime as long as they remember to water the seeds that they are kind of given in this lifetime and to plant those seeds as well. Pumpkin orange. So this one does border into the rare side. It's not one that I see super often. But when we talk about pumpkin orange, we do kind of think about pumpkins themselves. They're, very grounded. They're very earthy. They do help soothe, like if you have an upset stomach. I know for dogs you can give them a little bit of pumpkin and it can help their gut if they're having gut health issues or an upset stomach. So with pumpkin, people who have this color in their aura tend to be very grounded, very nurturing, very warm. There is a certain comforting energy to them. Peach is very similar in those regards too, where it brings a lot of comfort and a lot of warmth to people around them. However, pumpkin is more grounded, more stable. It's kind of similar to the energy of Taurus when we think of it. A little bit more earthy, a little bit more grounded, sometimes a little bit more slower in their action towards where they want to go. However, they tend to be a little bit more sure-footed than the other colors of orange. Pumpkin is incredibly well balanced and very aware of what steps to take to get to where they are going. However, at times they can become kind of stagnant and get to places where they just need to rest, where they just need to take some downtime in order to kind of know that next step that they need to take. For people with pumpkin, having a meditation routine can be very beneficial because that will give them the time to introspect, the time to recuperate and rejuvenate in order to kind of line up that energy and move to the next step. Last thing here for pumpkin, it's incredibly important that you do not get too serious about things because sometimes pumpkin can get a little too serious and then try to become too stable to the point, again, kind of like what I was saying, where then they aren't making any movement forward and then they get really upset at themselves and other people around them. And so pumpkin does need to make a point of doing kind of one adventurous thing every single month in order to continue to help themselves stay in a state of motion and being okay with what life has to throw at them versus trying to control every single situation. Burnt orange aura. So how we get the color burnt orange in the aura field, it is a mixture between the root chakra, which is all the way at the very base of our spine. This chakra rules over our sexual glands. It tends to be more intense. It tends to be a little bit more fierce. And it tends to be very much so a part of the physical realm around us. The tangible aspects of life. Now, that chakra mixed with the navel chakra, which is emotion, usually when we get burnt orange, it's that the root chakra is kind of taking over the emotional chakra. So this can be action that is a little bit too intense all the time from the root chakra, affecting our navel chakra. And literally it is like full-on burnout that's happening with the burnt orange color in the aura. So it's very important for you to make sure that you're taking time to rejuvenate, to recuperate, and to reset your energy field, because it's very easy to just kind of keep trying to just keep going, and that's how you end up with that burnt orange, and then that's how you end up with this kind of state where you're kind of maybe slightly aggravated but trying to push forward and trying to make things happen. Now that can be really beneficial if you have a set goal in mind. However, in the long run, this isn't a color that I usually see in somebody's aura field for a really long time. It's usually something that they're kind of passing through. This can also correlate to feeling like there's action that you have to take in your daily life that maybe you're not feeling emotionally aligned with. So it could be other people's expectations of how much money you need to make, where you need to work, what kind of work you need to be doing. Just to give you an idea, just to give you context, if any of this feels like it's resonating for you, grab your, a notepad, grab your journal, and start kind of writing down the areas in your life where you emotionally notice that you're experiencing resistance in your day-to-day life, and ask yourself if there is a creative solution that you can kind of work on in order to maneuver into a different energetic space. Brown, orange aura. So whenever we get brown in the aura field or black in correlation to a specific chakra, it always indicates that there is some kind of blockage in that specific chakra. So the navel chakra deals with our emotions, our gut health. It deals with a lot of how we emotionally process things and how we feel. This is one of the chakras that I find to be the most commonly blocked whenever I've done energy healings on people. And so it's pretty common to get brown, orange auras. Now, if this is your aura color, I highly suggest taking some time, grabbing a journal, and writing down areas where you feel emotionally blocked, where those emotional triggers, those emotional blocks are showing themselves repetitively to you every single day, and kind of looking at the very core of where that comes from. And this does kind of fall under the realm of shadow work, which is something I will create a video on at some point here, as we keep building and as we keep going. I am a one-woman team. And between creating courses and YouTube videos, it's quite the thing, but we will make it happen, I promise. Anyway, back to it. So with that being said, you're wanting to dig down deep, you're wanting to look for the core of what it is that's upsetting you, that's bothering you, and kind of finding that and then plucking it out at the roots. How do we do that? Well, we identify the pattern that we hold and the pattern that continues to keep showing itself to us. And then we play this game of noticing when we're getting triggered by an old pattern, and we play the game of shifting the pattern, and that's basically how we start to dig down into the roots of that plant, so to speak, and rip it out so that we aren't continuing to keep running those patterns, and that's how we begin to start healing ourselves. Orange auras in relationships. So it is incredibly important for people with orange auras to feel a deep connection with the person that they're with. And I mean an emotional connection with the person that they are with. Without a deep emotional connection, if the relationship is too tumultuous, they will inevitably end up leaving that relationship to find something that is emotionally harmonious for them. It's very hard for people with an orange aura to be in a relationship that isn't joyful, playful, and outgoing. And that's true for a lot of people in general, but especially people who have orange auras. That is incredibly important for them. Usually they want a partner that has a similar sense of adventure. Now, of course, for each person who has orange, that is a different variant. Pumpkin, not as much adventure. Bright orange, probably a lot more adventure. Same with peach. With that being said, it's incredibly important for people with orange auras to really focus on their communication with their partners and to really focus on having clear emotional communication, and also maybe even looking at the 5 love languages, doing a little love language test and seeing which one of the 5 love languages suits you best, so that you can kind of bring that information forward to your partner and kind of bring that information to the forefront so that they also know what things are important for you in order for you to feel emotionally fulfilled in a relationship. If you have an orange aura and you aren't yet in a relationship and you're looking for one, it can be really good to take some time and meditate with yourself and ask yourself, what emotional things are you looking to have evoked from you in a relationship? Now, maybe it's picturing yourself traveling with this person and they hug you and pick you up. Maybe your love language isn't physical touch like that. Maybe instead it's they come home and they bring you this wonderful gift that you've been really really wanting just some examples. Now, of course, again, I'm kind of coming back to the 5 love languages and looking up at what your 5 love language might be, and having an idea of that, but still meditating and holding the emotional state of having that kind of love that really just brings you so much joy. You can manifest love very easily that way, having an orange aura, as long as you remember to keep picturing what it is that you do want in a relationship if you are currently single. Now, I only suggest doing that specific exercise if it feels good. If you're having a really hard time with it and the emotions aren't lining up for you, then, just throw it in the trash. We are going to now go into career for Orange Aura people. Now, I'm sure, as you know by now, people with orange auras, they do really well when they feel emotionally fulfilled. Now, because of this, orange aura individuals can kind of find themselves in any career, to be honest. However, the emotional part is very important for them, that they feel emotionally aligned with what it is that they're doing. Usually you find them in something creative. They can even be entrepreneurs where they work for themselves and they kind of have this zest for life because of that. Orange aura individuals can also have really good finances in their lifetime as long as they maintain that alignment and they don't get stagnant and they don't try to fit in line with what everybody else is doing, and instead they remember to stay in this space of playful joy and pursuing that kind of next thing that they know will bring them a lot of happiness and that they know will bring them into that next state of deep personal alignment. Now, if you do have an orange aura and you are in a career where you don't feel happy, start meditating and picturing yourself feeling really happy, the people around you, really joyful, really playful, and start bringing that energy with you every single day. And either the work environment will shift or you will line up a new job opportunity that you will jump right into. And it is that easy for people who have orange auras when it comes to career. All right, that is it from me. Thank you guys so much. I love you. And again, if you're interested in learning how to see auras, definitely check out the description below. Subscribe to my email list. But yes, I love you. Bye.